I've been thinking about speech a lot lately. Maybe it's because I find it interesting how people communicate, what they say versus what they're thinking, and how they choose to present themselves to others. But I'm probably thinking about it mostly because I've been noticing that no matter what I do, people interrupt me all the time. I can understand completely why people may have wanted to interrupt me in the past. I used to have a tendency to be long-winded. My whole family is kind of like this. If you ask any of us a question like, "Where is the shoe store?" we will tell you what kind of shoes we once bought at that particular shoe store, whether or not you will need to turn on the car alarm in the neighborhood the shoe store is in, which interstate you should use if you ever wanted to drive to the shoe store from Vancouver, and the various coffee shops that are located by the shoe store that you will want to visit after you visit the shoe store. But for some reason, the actual answer to your question will be avoided at all costs. I used to be like that, but I made a concentrated effort to stop it. I think very carefully before I say anything, and I take care to ensure that it's exactly what I meant to say. What's more, whenever I'm talking, I watch people's faces very carefully to make sure that I'm not boring them too much. All is well when my audience is going, is that right? Very interesting. But when they start looking like this, and like this, I figure that I'd best shut up. But truth be told, it doesn't seem to make any difference. Last time I went to a party, the average conversation went like this. I would be saying something like, well, the interesting thing about the way men's fashion has developed over the last 20 years is, and they say, I think with fashion, men should wear more bow ties. Or, I don't often like it when Hollywood remakes classic movies, but did you see Les Miserables? It was awesome. Or, I was reading this psychology book on the Stanford Prison Experiment the other day, and I conducted psychology experiments at Harvard, which I wrote about in my thesis at Harvard, and everyone at Harvard agreed I was brilliant. I don't know what this is about. It could be that deep down everyone wants to yap their brains out, but I didn't notice it before because it was me then that was yapping his brains out. It could be that I was unaware that so many people had nobody to talk to, and so whenever they find a sympathetic ear, they go out of their way to bend it. I'm getting used to it, but I do find it curious that when interrupted, what people choose to interrupt you with. Usually when they do, they say something like, "Oh man, Frank just said something that was so funny." Well, what did he say? You don't understand. I was like, oh my God, it was so funny. Yeah, but what did he? I was like falling on the floor laughing. It was so funny. I'm not sure which is worse, being interrupted or the other thing that happens when I'm walking out with someone and I say, I think it's sort of interesting to think that if a 22-year-old John Lennon were to sing Twist and Shout today, he almost certainly would have been eliminated from Britain's Got Talent. And they say, yeah, see that dog over there? It's a Pekingese. Anyway, I figured that trying to finish my sentences wasn't really worth the aggravation, so I decided to do an experiment. If I'm talking and I get interrupted, I'll just figure that they want to talk more than I do, so I'll shut up and I'll just let them get on with it. If you feel like you may want to try this yourself, these are my experiment's results. The average person speaks around 13,000 to 20,000 words per day. Unless I'm talking to myself, I am down to approximately 900 to 1,500 words per day, including restaurant orders. Proceed at your own risk.